The other week, my Dodge Ram was making a squeaking noise coming from the driver's side wheel, and I discovered it was one of my universal joints going out. So before I change them, I'm going to spray penetrating oil on all the bolts, and I'm going to jack up the truck and put them in jack stands because that's the safest way to work on a vehicle. Here I'm spraying penetrating oil on the castle nut to hopefully make it easier to remove. Now I'm unclipping the ABS sensor and attempting to remove the brake caliper bracket. Now to get that castle nut off, first you have to take off a cotter pin. And then the castle nut. Luckily I have air tools, otherwise I'd have to be using a big breaker bar. There's 4 bolts on the back of the knuckle that connects the hub to the knuckle. First one came out easy, but the other ones were a little more stubborn. Now, I think whoever owned the truck before me, it was either in the mountains or maybe on the coast, because there was a lot of rust that was kind of sticking a lot of stuff together, and it was making this job harder than I expected. A lot of breaker bar action. Now here I'm removing the ABS sensor. It's just held on with one bolt with Allen head. Now getting that sensor out of the way. And I begin work on removing the hub. Now like I said, there's a lot of rust, and that makes this hub removal extremely difficult. After the hammering and chiseling failed to work, I switch over to the puller. Now I put the castle nut back on just a few threads in case the puller pops that hub off. It's not going to shoot at me. I was a little optimistic. Now eventually the puller does work, but it only takes half of the hub off. Now it's a sealed hub, and supposedly the whole assembly should come off from the knuckle, but it came apart. So I put 4 of the hub bolts back on and tap on the back of the bolts or on the bolt heads with a hammer to try to pop the rest of the hub off. It's still stubborn, and I have to chisel and hammer. Now my coworker helped me. While I stick a chisel in one side, he pounds another one. And after lots of tapping, Tommy gets the thing off. Thanks, Tommy. Sometimes beer helps on these hard jobs. Now, when pulling the axle out, it's very simple. It just slides out of the differential, and it's as simple as that. Now, in order to get the universal joint out of the yoke, I have to take off 4 clips, each one on each cap of the U-joint. There I'm pointing at it, and you can see how badly rusted it is. So I can begin work on it with chisels and hammers and screwdrivers, and I get them out, but most of them come out in pieces. I try to press the U-joint out with a vise. You can see me put a breaker bar on the vise as things get difficult, and it still fails to pop it. So I'm forced to switch over to the 30-ton press. Now, I've never used a press before, and I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, That's a lot of force. It sounded like a gunshot. Here's the other one. Yikes. Now, it's hard to see in the video, but this U-joint cap is the root of my problems and causing the squeaking. The whole thing is rusted on the inside, dry of grease, and the bearings are, a lot of them are flattened. So I clean up the yokes, spray some oil on it, wire brush it, sand it, and scrape some of the old rust off the inside. Now, unfortunately, using the press, I managed to bugger up the axle stub yoke, and I ordered a new one. First time using a press, and I really messed that thing up. Anyways, the new one came the next day, and I continued with my project. It's a lot easier putting things in than taking them out sometimes. Now these C-clips, there's 4 of them that go on each cap, and you really want to make sure they're clipped into their joint, into their groove. So I make sure they're in there by tapping on them, and then it's good to tap the yoke too to just try to make sure they're in there. Now this is the dust cover from the old stub shaft. I removed it with a hammer, deformed it a little, fixed it in the vise, and now I'm installing it on the new stub shaft. It doesn't do much. It just prevents dust getting into the hub area, kind of the knuckle hub area. I messed up some of the surface of the knuckle when using the chisel, so I sanded that out. And then I applied anti-seize to all the surfaces in case I have to get back into the hub area. It'll be a lot easier. So after I'm done with this, I'm going to do the same thing on the passenger side. New U-joint and new hub. I hope this helps you guys, and just keep in mind that a lot of times when you break into a project in your car or truck, you're going to unfold maybe a few other problems, so be prepared for things to not go as planned. Anyways, thanks for watching.